Hi, I'm Yvonne and I'm an art theorist.
Hello, I'm Aline and I'm an art researcher.
Hi, I'm Rasa Smite and I'm artist and researcher.
In our talk, we want to do two things. First, to present our research project, which started in November 2017, and second, to share my current theoretical insights discussing 3 Ecomedia strategies and visionary aesthetic positions in media art. Ecodata, Ecomedia, Ecoaesthetics investigates new media, technologies and technoscientific methods like registering, collecting and interpreting data in the arts in view of understanding their role and significance for the perception and awareness of the ecological. The project is composed of 3 main parts. First, a practical part, aesthetic research relative to the alpine forest Veillat. Second, a theory part, that is critical analysis of various aesthetic idioms in the field of current international Ecomedia art projects. And third, a group exhibition taking place this summer in Basel, next spring in Gijón, and later on in Riga. Bringing together artists, theorists and natural scientists, the project aims to learn of each other's methods and to develop a techno-ecological artifactual poetics of the green. Its goal is to investigate and correct our basic relations to non-human beings and to critically discuss the aesthetic potential of artistic practices in this field. The current research project goes back to the touring exhibition Ecomedia, which I curated with Sabine Himmelsbach and Karin Ohlenschläger in 2007. At that time, we became interested in the question of how artists make use of media and technologies in exploring the ecological. It was obvious that media technologies and interdisciplinary cooperation with the natural and technosciences played a substantial role in this and challenged conventional concepts of art. In the past 10 years, Ecomedia strategies increased and shifted. While recording and interpreting in the form of visualizing, sonificating relatively clear defined objects such as weather data stood in the foreground back then, the new technologies today intervene directly in ecosystems. The latter are perceived in their material vibrancy, techno-organic artifactuality, and indeterminability. In this sense, technologies monitor or track non-human, seemingly insignificant small protagonists such as bees, worms or sep's flow, so as to make it possible to experience their being as singular modes of existence within a comprehensive context. Artists' involvement consists to a great extent of sensitizing us to what capitalist economy occupies and what we humans destroy out of ignorance or complicity. However, I observe too that in techno-ecologies and media ecology, the relations towards non-human entities fell out of perspective, insofar as they conceive the environment as always already technological, as a technosphere. Most talk has been about algorithmic and machinic relations. Against this tendency, this project tries to bring our relations towards non-human organisms into play and to focus onto nature culture. The practice part starts from the alpine forest Veillat. The idea was to aesthetically relate to a tiny local ecosystem that, compared to what's happening to the oceans, seems irrelevant and subliminal, dropping out of artistic research too. The artistic researchers Markus Meder, Rasa Smite and Aline Veillat explore, translate or present this forest as an ecosystem composed of many human and non-human actors. This aesthetic investigation is realized in close cooperation with the Swiss Federal Institute for Forest, Snow and Landscape, a globally connected scientific institution. So, this little forest in the southwest of Little Switzerland is unique for several reasons. First, for its state of crisis, caused by the local aluminum industry. Second, by its drought intensified by climate change. And third, by the fact that it has been under close surveillance of natural scientists for more than 25 years. This is a long period of monitoring that not many other sites can deliver, so that this small site becomes an outdoor laboratory and a unique model site of forest's viability in the Anthropocene. In the picture, you see the natural reserve Veillat and the dying Scots pines. 50% of the area's pines are dead. However, the forest does not disappear. It transforms into another habitat. Southern oak is immigrating. Systematic experiments with irrigation and their close observation by the natural scientists characterize the Veillat as an outdoor laboratory, a site for experimentation, providing knowledge also about the soil, earthworms, mushrooms, and its relations to the trees. Every minute, various sensors examine growth and functioning of the pines, for example, dendrology, sap flow, soil humidity, temperature, breathing, photosynthesis performance, leaf breathing. These experiments deliver results regarding the conditions of forest survival. The forest looks like an emergency patient that has to be monitored constantly. The forest is a cyborg, a subject-object of technoscience, nature culture, a network of various timescales, relations, and agencies.
Emitting forest. Forest is a complex ecosystem. It is a whole living organism engaged in different relationships with the surrounding environment, but it also is an atmospheric body. Beyond the visible actors of the nature and scientifically known, like microorganisms in soil, plants, animals, birds, the forest can be seen as a vibrating emitting source and a sensory antenna. The idea of a radiating forest is developed on the basis of my earlier artistic research projects by Electricity and Swamp Radio, where I was using microbial fuel cells, environmental sensors, and data transmission to reveal the invisible activity in the nature, exploring the potential of the wetland infrastructure, and to create the poetics of green energy. WSL scientists are using emitting forests to read the information about the effects of climate change, turning Finwaldere and Swiss Alps into a living observatory. My artistic interest in Finwald is to reveal the patterns of complex relations within and beyond the system of emitting forest. I would like to create an immersive experience that represents the atmospheric forest, which maintains connectivity between the terrestrial source of the Finwald forest and extraterrestrial radiation such as very low frequency waves, between nature and urban industrial environments, as well as between social communication and cultural environment. At what extent we can open up our senses and expand imagination using contemporary scientific tools, immersive technology, sound and data visualization approaches. Visualizing scientific data from tree monitoring and satellite scans is an important part in my artistic research process. Yet as artist and practitioner, I'm keen on putting my own hands and getting physically and experientially engaged in the Finwald's Living Observatory. In the framework of Ecodata project, this summer during the field trip to Finwald, I plan to carry out artistic and technological interventions, experimenting with bacteria batteries, making field recordings and collecting sensor data, scanning electromagnetic environment with antennas, as well as using visual scanning techniques. The aim of this intervention exploration is to obtain my own artistically, sensory, visually, aesthetically chosen data received from the emitting and atmospheric forest. I will be combining it with scientific data, tracking, mapping, and revealing the patterns of our relations with other species and complexity of the local and atmospheric ecosystems.
By this presentation, I intend to give a quick overview of the beginning of my artistic research. Thus, I will present an exploration of the subject of study, here an alpine forest, via a broad, subjective, conceptual, and interdisciplinary approach of sources and thoughts, both theoretical and artistic. In fact, scrutinizing the forest as a communicating network, a place of exchange of contingent signs, a perfect framework for the evolution of processes between organic and inorganic beings, brings me to be aware of different notions: fluxes, scales, signs, growing, phenomena, among others. First of all, the forest as object is going from the soil up to the cloud, and in our case is going up from the soil to the cloud, passing by the undergrowth, trees, mistletoe, and birds. There are circulation in both directions of energy and matter of all kinds between these strata, that is to say, they are fluxes. They are vertical and horizontal. They involve multi-agencies, directly or indirectly connected, each with capacity to transform the world. It brings us to realize that considering a forest also implies to take into account different scales. The temporal one, where we have processes and phenomena of different pace and different time involved and interconnected from microsecond to era, and as well a spatial scale from local to global with connections, inter and intra-relations. Moreover, to consider the forest as a communication network supposes, as Eduardo Kohn brilliantly suggested, is to consider the indexical and iconic signs and the semiotic chains in presence. More especially, these signs convey an idea of a future evolution or a future transformation of the world. Signs are a signal of something coming. They connect past with present with future. And they imply to collaborate in triplet with an object, with an interpretant. That is to say, before it is interpreted, a sign is a pure potentiality. But how to notice a sign? Considering our forest as defined previously, it is a point that is both the key and the difficulty, because it is the habit or the repetition that makes the connection, association, possible. For example, I learned as a child to recognize the jays singing and to interpret it not as a sign for itself, but as a sign for our arrival to all the forest inhabitants as future potential danger. On the other hand, some years ago I worked with roboticians from University for Science and Technology of Zurich on this plants robot installation. Sensors and software gives predefined intelligent behavioral capacities to the plant robots according to the environment. From our symbolic interpretation, the artwork tells about a moving landscape at human pace scale in the context of climate change, a world in transformation. Nevertheless, when we see them performing overall, we can hardly detect any iconic or indicical signs. However, from another artwork, I got interested on the Darwin experience with earthworms to understand how they grab a leaf, twist it, and pull it in their gallery as a cap. Darwin gave them triangles of paper, models of a leaf, and abstract forms. For earthworms, such a triangle of paper is an iconic sign of a leaf indicating a possibility to act toward a gallery cap. And there, In doing so, earthworms operate a transfiguration of a representation into a concrete reality, an indexical sign of gallery entrance for potential interpretant. Which brings us to consider another of my work, Paisaje en Kit. Thousands of earthworms are in the black compost kitchen box on the left of the picture. We don't see them, but we hear them live, living and somehow working. Which means, thanks to Ludovic Coupad's concept of growing artifact, the sound of earthworms at work does not signal their presence acting, but signal the growing of compost, which is soil, that is to say, sounds signal the soil in becoming as growing artifact. Yesterday we gave our kitchen leftover, today the soil grows, tomorrow new garden landscape will grow. In fact, earthworms brings us one step further because by his digestion, earthworm associates dead organic matter and mineral matter thanks to clay layer structure. Worm cat is the result of this strong association, and this is soil. To be an earthworm is to be soil. It is a phenomenon. Even matter exists as a phenomenon, as the materialization of these relationships, this action between organic and inorganic beings. It brings me to my conclusion with a quote of Karen Barad saying, "Reality is composed not of things in themselves or things behind phenomena, but of things in phenomena." She specifies phenomena as the ontological inseparability, entanglement of interacting agencies. How should we proceed to go on? Do scientific data and technologies help us to notice signs and phenomena and then interpret them? Or isn't it rather in combination with long observations and tracking of repetitive singular signs, thanks to our sensitivity while in the forest?
I want to conclude our input with two remarks. First, a progressive Ecomedia aesthetic practice establishes an ecology of relation. Saying this, I mean, it is not only about monitoring non-human life and translating it into human perception. Rather, it realizes connections between various species, performing relations towards the other in the making. Second, although media, technologies, and scientific data play a crucial part in establishing the ecology of relation, we should not overestimate their impact. They cannot replace the hard work that has to be done to immerse oneself into the non-human. Ecomedia are not the solution, but rather one contemporary way of establishing specific relations to the so-called environment and beyond.